Welcome to Watch Cozy. Before we start, please subscribe to our channel. We work really hard to find documents and put together this content for you. Okay, so have you ever found yourself maybe late at night just scrolling through your phone, Instagram, maybe something else, and then wham, that feeling hits you, that little knot in your stomach. It's like suddenly you see everyone else out there living your dream life, you know? They're traveling, their relationships look perfect, careers taking off, they look amazing, their friends are always up to something cool.
Right, the highlight reel.
Exactly. And you kind of stop and think, hang on, what am I missing here? Why does my life feel so, well, ordinary compared to all that? If that sounds familiar, well, you're definitely not alone. This isn't just some private thing you're dealing with. It's become a really common human experience, especially now.
It really has.
It almost feels like our society is, I don't know, subtly designed to keep us feeling like we're never quite enough, like we're on this endless treadmill, always chasing the next thing.
Always chase.
But what if, maybe, there's another way? What if that constant chasing is the actual problem? So today, we want to unpack why we feel this way, look at where this feeling actually comes from, some surprisingly old roots, actually, and then maybe explore a different path, a kind of radical, maybe even taboo alternative to just constantly wanting more.
It's such a pervasive feeling now, isn't it? That sense of inadequacy. And you're right, it's not entirely accidental, this feeling. While it feels super modern, tied to our phones and feeds, this struggle isn't new. Philosophers, psychologists, they've been wrestling with human desire and this kind of discontent for, well, centuries. And their ideas, they shed a surprising amount of light on what we're going through right now. It's almost like they predicted it.
Okay, so let's dig into that. This feeling of not enough, where does it really stem from? Is it just baked into us, or is it, like you hinted, something that modern life really, really amps up? Because it honestly feels like we're set up to feel behind.
It certainly feels that way.
I mean, just think about it. You work for years towards something big, right? Like, say you finally get that PhD you poured everything into. You have that moment, yes, I did it.
That moment of triumph.
Yeah, but how long does it last? Seriously. Almost instantly, the goalposts shift. Suddenly, the PhD isn't enough. Now you also need the perfect body, the amazing marriage, the cool friends. You need to be traveling internationally all the time.
And documenting it all perfectly online.
Oh, absolutely. It has to be showcased, curated, so everyone knows how cool and successful you are. It's exhausting. Just exhausting. It makes you wonder about our basic nature. There's that quote from Jean-Paul Sartre. He said something like, "We are not as happy with having something as we are depressed by losing it."
That's a powerful one.
It is, right. And it suggests maybe we're wired to always look for the next thing, you know, to fill some gap we perceive, instead of actually settling in and appreciating what we have. Like the joy is all in the getting, and then it just vanishes.
And what's fascinating, or maybe worrying, is how modern media just pours fuel on that fire. It essentially keeps us locked in a state of perpetual longing.
How so?
Well, it's not just old school ads anymore. Think about your social media feeds, influencers, targeted ads. They're constantly creating and reinforcing new needs. It's consumerism, sure, but it's deeper. It's about manufacturing desires that aren't even necessarily our own, just to keep the wheels turning, both the economy's wheels and our own internal anxiety wheels.
So we're just constantly shown what we don't have.
Exactly. What we could have, what we should supposedly want.
It keeps us in this state of yearning for something more, something elusive. And, you know, this comparison game, this pressure to keep up, it actually starts way earlier than we might think. It often goes right back to childhood.
Really?
Think about it. For many of us, didn't love, approval, our sense of worth feel tied to achievements, getting good grades, winning the race, being the good kid.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Get your A+A, get the praise. Right. And that pattern, it instills this deep belief, often subconscious, that we have to achieve something to be worthy of love, to be valuable. It's a really powerful script that starts playing long, long before we ever logged onto Instagram. It feeds right into this cycle.
Wow, okay. That makes a lot of sense, the early conditioning. So if we're sort of wired this way from the start, how on earth do we break free from always needing more? It sounds almost impossible.
It does feel that way sometimes.
But you mentioned philosophers wrestling with this for ages, like Schopenhauer. What did he say about it?
Ah, Schopenhauer, yes. He had this, well, kind of bleak but powerful image. He saw human life as a pendulum, constantly swinging back and forth.
Between what?
Between suffering, which comes from lacking something, from wanting, and boredom, which sets in once you actually get the thing you wanted. And that boredom, it just pushes you to find a new desire, a new thing to lack, starting the cycle all over again.
So basically, you want something, you suffer until you get it, then you get it, you're bored, so you find something new to want and suffer for.
That's the gist of his idea, yeah. Even when you achieve that goal, the promotion, the car, the trip, the satisfaction is often temporary. Your mind almost automatically starts scanning for the next desire to fill that new void.
That doesn't sound like a failure, then? More like just how it works.
According to Schopenhauer, yes, it's a fundamental part of the human condition.
Yeah.
And modern media, it's like the perfect engine for this pendulum, always showing us the next shiny object, the next trend, the next thing we need. It just keeps us swinging, exploiting that inherent nature.
Okay, so that's one perspective, maybe a bit grim. What about Sartre again? You mentioned his idea of freedom. How does that fit in?
Right, Sartre offers a different angle, of a potentially more liberating one, though maybe a bit daunting at first. He believed in absolute human freedom, like radical freedom, the power to decide who you are, what life you choose,
Absolute freedom.
total liberty. His point was that no external force, not media, not culture, not even our past conditioning, like we just discussed, should dictate who we are or what we desire. We are fundamentally free to define our own existence.
So society doesn't get to tell me what success looks like.
Exactly. Sartre argued the world itself doesn't come with inherent meaning. It's like a blank canvas. And it's our job, our responsibility, actually, to paint meaning onto our own lives.
Our responsibility, okay.
Which means your values, your authentic choices are what truly matter. So let's say you genuinely find joy in a simple life, maybe way out in the countryside, with no interest in climbing ladders or getting rich or famous. If that brings you genuine contentment moment to moment.
Then that's valid, even if everyone else thinks it's aimless.
From Sartre's view, absolutely. It's an authentic choice, aligned with your inner values. It doesn't matter how it looks to others. The key is owning your freedom and finding joy in your choices, not chasing someone else's definition of a good life.
I can see how that's liberating, stepping off the comparison treadmill. But that idea of a meaningless world, doesn't that feel a bit, I don't know, bleak to some people? We seem to crave purpose.
That's a really important point, and it's where Sartre pushes us. It's not about embracing bleakness. It's about embracing the power and the responsibility of creating meaning yourself.
Ah, okay. So if the world doesn't hand you a purpose.
You get to define it
Yeah.
on your own terms. That freedom, while maybe feeling heavy initially, is incredibly empowering. It shifts the focus from searching outside for meaning to building it from within. Through your choices, your actions, your values, you become the author of your story, not just a reader of a script someone else wrote.
Being the author, I like that. Okay, so we have these philosophical perspectives. What about the science? What does psychology say about this constant comparison and why it messes with us so much? Because it really does feel destructive. Even just scrolling passively, there's a theory, right, by Mark Leary, Social Self-Concept.
Yes, Leary's work is key here. He basically said it's a fundamental human need to evaluate ourselves against others. We seem to be wired to do it. It helps us figure out where we stand.
Okay, so it's natural.
It seems to be. But then social media comes along and throws that process into overdrive. It just bombards us with endless, highly curated examples of other people's lives.
The highlight reels again.
Exactly.
Huh.
And when you're constantly comparing your own messy, everyday reality, the laundry pile, the boring Tuesday night, to these polished, often unrealistic images, it's almost inevitable you'll end up feeling inadequate, like you're just not measuring up. It feels like the system is designed to make us feel bad.
Is there actual proof of that impact, like studies?
Oh, absolutely. There was a significant study, I believe, from the University of Michigan that found a direct link. Heavy social media use correlated pretty strongly with increased depression and lower life satisfaction.
Wow.
And the reason seems to be exactly what you said.
Yeah.
We usually only post our wins online, the great vacation, the job promotion, the cute family photo. So subconsciously, we start to build this narrative that everyone else's life is just this constant stream of amazing moments.
While ours feels full of mundane stuff and challenges.
Precisely. It sets an impossible, unrealistic standard that our own lives can never meet, leading to that dissatisfaction.
And it goes beyond just comparison, right? There's something about how our brains get hooked.
Definitely. Media, ads, even social platforms are incredibly sophisticated at manipulating our basic psychology. They relentlessly link happiness, success, even love to buying specific products or achieving certain statuses.
Buy this, be happy, get this promotion, be successful.
Exactly. And this creates a really strong cognitive bias. It trains our brains to focus almost entirely on what we lack, on what we don't have, rather than appreciating what we already possess.
And the list of things we lack is?
Infinite. It's literally endless. There's always something newer, better, different that we could have. So it traps us in this cycle of perpetual pursuit, always chasing a horizon that keeps moving further away.
And then there's the dopamine thing, that immediate buzz you get from a like or watching one of those super short, punchy motivational videos. It feels good for a second.
It does feel good. That's the hook. But that instant, effortless pleasure, it's actually rewiring our brains. It makes us more dependent on immediate gratification.
So we lose patience for harder things.
Pretty much. It makes it harder to stick with tasks that require sustained effort and delayed gratification. Things like studying for an exam, working consistently on a long-term project, even sticking to an exercise plan. Our brains start craving that quick, easy hit instead of the deeper satisfaction that comes from real effort. I'm sure you've felt that pull, the easy scroll versus the hard work.
Oh, absolutely. All the time. It's a constant battle.
And you touched on something really critical there, the dopamine curve. This is fascinating. Research suggests that the anticipation of a reward, the desire for something, often releases more dopamine than actually getting the reward itself.
Wait, wanting is better than having, chemically speaking.
In many cases, yes. The wanting, the planning, the dreaming about the goal. That's often where the biggest neurochemical rush comes from. As some put it, we're kind of slaves to desire, not union. The thrill is in the chase.
Which explains why actually achieving the goal can sometimes feel a bit flat.
Exactly. Or why we immediately start looking for the next goal. That initial dopamine surge from wanting is so powerful. It's why we often justify being relentlessly goal-oriented, always striving for the next thing, even if it leaves us feeling constantly dissatisfied, like we never truly arrive. It becomes a cycle of wanting, not of contentment.
Okay, this is painting a picture of us being kind of trapped, chasing dopamine hits and comparing ourselves into misery. So what's the way out? How do we escape this treadmill? Which brings us back to this idea you mentioned, the art of aimless living. It sounds so counterintuitive, but the idea is instead of always striving, always pushing for better, the next achievement, maybe we need to learn how to consciously, deliberately just set the goals aside sometimes and actually enjoy who we are, what we have, right here, right now.
Precisely. It's about pausing the chase.
And this living in the moment idea, it's not necessarily about bungee jumping or wild adventures, is it?
Not at all. It's often much quieter, much more subtle than that. It's about truly experiencing the steps of your life, even the mundane or difficult ones. Approaching them with a sense of presence, maybe even as if it's the last time you'll do that specific thing, recognizing how transient everything is. Finding the meaning in the simple act of peeling a vegetable or waiting for the kettle to boil when you're fully there for it.
Finding meaning in the mundane.
Yes. And this links beautifully to another philosopher, Martin Heidegger. He had this concept of the human being as fundamentally an unfinished project.
Unfinished.
Always unfinished. Our desires, he argued, can never be fully satisfied by their very nature. Think about it. No matter how long you lived, even 5,000 years, there would always be something more you could have done, achieved, seen, experienced. The list of possibilities is infinite.
So the idea of finally arriving or completing ourselves is an illusion.
According to Heidegger, yes. Which means that endless striving, constantly trying to finish the project, is ultimately futile, because completion is impossible.
That's strangely freeing, actually.
It can be. So we pull all these threads together, the comparison traps, the dopamine chases, the philosophical insights we see, that in our high-pressure world, aimless living isn't negative. It's not about being lazy or drifting pointlessly.
It's a conscious choice.
Exactly. It's a potentially profound path towards inner peace, towards accepting the present moment for what it is. It's about intentionally stepping off that exhausting treadmill of comparison and constant striving for change. It's a way to pause, breathe, and appreciate what is, instead of always craving what isn't. Finding contentment in just being.
It really is such a radical idea, isn't it, especially today, that the real path to feeling content might not be more achievement, but actually a dose of deliberate aimlessness. It challenges almost everything we're told.
It certainly does.
And based on what we've discussed, there's practical takeaway here, a challenge for you listening. Try it, just for, say, 30 minutes a day. Try being genuinely aimless. No agenda, no smart thinking, no optimization. Maybe do something completely silly or just stare out the window or at a wall.
Let go of the shoulds.
Yeah. Let the world trick you for a bit, as one source put it. Let go of the striving. See what happens in that space. What might you notice?
And perhaps a final thought to chew on. If we know that the wanting often gives us a bigger buzz than the having, how can we consciously shift our energy, move away from that endless chase for the next thing, and pour it instead into a deeper appreciation for this moment, right now, even with all its imperfections and challenges?
Hmm.
And how might really internalizing that idea of being an unfinished project, as Heidegger saw us, actually free us? Free us to
Yeah.
simply be right here, finding peace where we are instead of constantly needing to become something else, something more.
That shift in perspective, it's powerful. It offers so much insight into, well, our own self-worth, understanding those pressures we all feel, and maybe finding a more sustainable kind of peace in this often overwhelming world. Thank you for joining us as we explored this. We really hope it gives you some interesting things to think about.